Hello everybody, we are thrilled that you're here today joining us with this winter activity on making a seed tape for the garden in preparation for the spring. My name is Ray Cruzy, Food Systems Program Coordinator and Master Gardener Coordinator right here at the ISU Extension and Outreach Office of Dubuque County. And you might be wondering, what's a seed tape? What's the benefit of it? Well, I'll tell you what. If we imagine this is our soil in the garden in the springtime, and we're going to go seed, say, some lettuce seeds out in the garden, we're real carefully trying to sprinkle them out in our row on the soil there, we can try and do our best to spread them out the best we can. But you know what? The amount of seeds that we're actually dropping in that amount of soil there is quite dense and isn't very optimal for when our seeds actually do come up, for them to be growing at such a close distance. And what this activity does of making a seed tape, it ensures that we actually have a better, proper spacing of seeds in our soil seed bed out in the garden. Now, with this activity, what we have done here is we have partnered with a local library, the James Kennedy Public Library, to bring you some of the supplies in order to do this activity. And if you participate with the library, what you will find inside of your kit is a bag of seeds, some paper plates, and a small baggie of flour. Now, inside of your bag of seeds, what you will also find is 3 feet of toilet paper, a toothpick, and some seeds that you desired or chose from the library. Now, the seeds that work best for this type of activity are seeds that are typically planted straight into the ground, such as carrots, lettuce, radishes, and beets. Beets are planted just a little bit differently in this activity, and we'll explain that in a second. But other seeds, such as tomatoes or pumpkins that are grown typically in hills or in rows or transplanted out in the garden, are better left as grown as individual plants started indoors or out in the garden in individual hills. But for this activity where we're sowing, or these are crops that are typically sowed in rows, this works perfect for. Now, additionally, on top of the materials that are included in the kit from the library, you will need some water. This is more than what you'll need, but this is about a cup. You will also need a non-toxic marker, a ruler that measures inches, and also a piece of scratch paper. Now, if you're not able to get these materials the kit from the library, you can use the other materials in your home. But just a small tip on selecting the toilet paper. In trying to select toilet paper appropriate for this activity, what you're looking for is septic-safe toilet paper, and you can tell that by taking a little bit of water on the edge of the toilet paper and seeing if it rips when wet. Now, some of the toilet paper used in schools and malls or more industrial facilities is more like the tissue paper that we'll find in a gift or in a present or something like that. And when wet, it doesn't typically rip and can actually keep our seeds trapped in the ground when they're trying to emerge. So that's when you know you have some decent toilet paper for this activity, when it happens to fray with water. Now, to get started with this activity, what we'll first do here is we're going to unroll our toilet paper. We have 3 feet of toilet paper here. Now, when it comes to radishes, lettuce, and carrots, they are most optimally grown in the garden at a 1-inch spacing. That's typically the width of a normal carrot, or the space that a typical lettuce plant will need for leaf lettuce. And so that's just a very optimal spacing. However, if we were to seed exactly 1 seed in the garden at every inch, those seeds have a lot of challenges in coming up out of the garden. It might be cold, there might be insects or something like that. We might have a bare space. So what I'm actually recommending is for us to double seed just a little bit and seed 1 seed every 1/2 inch. And we'll make a mark on our toilet paper every 1/2 inch. Now you might be like, well, that kind of defeats our purpose, right? Because over here we were overseeding and that wasn't good, and we're trying to avoid our thinning, right? Well, compared to the, 3 dozen seeds, 4 dozen seeds that I accidentally or thought I was doing a really good job of sowing in the garden on this piece of paper, we're actually making our seed go further because we're putting exactly 24 seeds per foot with this activity. And again, this is something that can be done in the wintertime, when you're indoors, when it's below 0, like it is right now in February. And it is an awesome activity for little kids to do. Now, what I'm going to do here is take this non-toxic marker, and every 1/2 inch I'm going to go all the way down the toilet paper for this marking. Okay, we have completed marking our toilet paper at 1/2 inch increments. And again, we've used the scratch paper to help avoid any of the marker bleeding onto our table surface. Now that we've completed that and setting our spacing for our carrots, radishes, and lettuce, what we're going to do is we're going to mix up the glue that we're going to use to glue our seeds to the toilet paper. This can be really easily done with just a little bit of flour. We have a tablespoon of flour here that we're going to empty out onto our plate here. And we're going to take a little bit of that over to one corner of the plate, and we're going to dump just a little bit of water on that here, and we're going to make a paper mache like consistency, or like a cake batter like consistency. So we're just going to take our toothpick here and mix that up really nicely there until we get something that resembles cake batter. Okay, I have come to a point here where we have some nice paste here made, and you can kind of see that when we take our toothpick and dip it into the glue here of just flour and water, that it sticks to the tip of our toothpick just like that, and this is going to be a perfect consistency for us to put on our toilet paper for glue. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go along our toilet paper and put a little dot of glue using our toothpick on every dot. And usually that little dot of glue will last me 2, maybe 3 individual dots on the toilet paper. And our goal in trying to add this glue to the toilet paper is we're not trying to add a super high amount of glue, because we don't want those seeds to get super wet. We want them to dry out almost immediately, which is why we put just a small amount of glue. And we're not actually going to do the whole seed tape, because by the time we get to the far end of the seed tape, the glue will actually dry out. So what we're going to do here, I have just 1 square's worth of toilet paper completed with the glue, and we're going to take our radish seeds here, we're going to dump these out here on the paper plate. I can get my little baggie open. And this pre-counted amount of little seeds here will be just perfect for this 3-foot section of toilet paper. And I'm going to take my toothpick here, and being the end is wet, your seeds will stick just perfectly to the end of your toothpick, and we'll put that right on that dot of glue there. And we'll complete this process all the way down the toilet paper. So like I said, this is radishes here that we are planting. This process also works very well, and spacing works very well for carrots and lettuce as well. So I will continue going here all the way down the toilet paper here until we get to the far end. Okay, we are reaching the end of our seed tape here. I'm getting the last couple little seeds onto the tape, and we're going to have some glue left over, but that's okay. But you should have enough seeds to complete 36 inches of the tape. Now our next job, what we're going to do here is we're going to fold this tape over to keep our seeds kind of glued in there and embedded in the toilet paper. So we're going to take just a little bit of glue, and this is just a suggestion on my end, and along the edge of the toilet paper, keeping it away from your seeds, going along and putting a little bit of a dab of glue so that when we fold this toilet paper over, that it stays glued together in half. So we'll just kind of go all the way down here and complete that process here. And if you need to mix up some extra glue in the process, not a problem, because that's what that's there for. And then very gently what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and try not to knock your seeds off the glue that you've already just put on there. And we're going to try pushing this over here. And we're going to glue that in half, just like that. That is perfect. That looks wonderful. So now that we've got this folded in half here, what we're going to do here is we're going to mark what this crop is that we have in this toilet paper, because I mean it's going to be hard to identify it later. So I'm going to put a little R on here for radishes with some dots indicating that that's what we have in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set this in a sunny window and let that dry out so that the glue is dry and it's not feeding the seeds any water, because we don't want them to sprout. But this short amount of time that they're being exposed to this glue isn't going to be a problem. Once it's dried out in the sunny window, what you'll do is you'll fold it in half again and very gently put it inside your plastic baggie until you can go ahead and seed them next spring out in the garden. Now, when you put them out in the garden, very simple. All you do is get your seed bed prepared and you dig a hole 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch deep, and you simply plop that in there ever so nicely, and you'll have a perfect row of seeds. Now, when your seeds come up out of the garden, it'll probably take about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the conditions and the weather, but you'll have your little seeds come out. And when they come out of their row, you'll probably have one, hopefully have one, every 1/2 inch. But if you have a skip, that's why we double seed it a little bit. That way you don't have a blank spot in your garden. So in time, what we will do is we will thin out every other one so that all the seeds are at 1 inch in spacing, because that's what's optimal. But keep in mind, we're still not trying to thin out a carpet of seeds like what we had over here on this black piece of paper. You know, me demonstrating this 3-4 dozens worth of seeds that are on the ground. We've only got 1 dozen per foot to thin out as opposed to 3 dozen. So this is one of the main advantages of a seed tape. Also, being that your crop is in a perfect row, you can identify, well, is it looking like a weed or is it looking like a crop that I actually planted? Well, if it's in the row, chances are you're more or less looking at the actual crop you planted. So that is the radish seed tape there. Now, when it comes to other crops such as these beets here, they're going to be seeded just a little bit differently on the toilet paper. So a little thing about beets is that each individual baby beet seed here has not just one plant in it. A lot of them have 2, 3, 4, or 5 little baby beet plants all in that one individual seed. So when we seed them and when we grow them in the garden, it's optimal to have them at a 2-inch spacing when they're growing, because our beets are harvested normally at a 2-inch diameter. But if you were to plant this one seed, it doesn't really make sense. It's going to put in your, grow 3, 4, maybe 5 seeds. So ultimately, we will have to thin these out too. But when we seed these in the ground, we're only going to seed 1 seed every 2 inches, because there's already multiple seeds or multiple plants in one individual little beet seed. So with this, we're just going to maintain the spacing that we normally would plant them in the garden, which is 2 inches on this. So you won't have to necessarily thin out extra seeds that you planted. It's just you're thinning out the extra seeds that were already duplicates in that one seed you planted already. So hopefully you learned a little bit about a fun winter activity that you can do with your very own seeds at home. This is Ray Cruzy, Food Systems Program Coordinator and Master Gardener Coordinator right here at the ISU Extension Outreach Office of Dubuque County. Happy growing, everybody.